Hey guys, welcome back. So now we're getting back into Banner of War with part 3 with Hulk versus the Celestial Hulkbuster and so much more. So with that said, let's just get into it. But first, if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get your spills every week. And don't forget to hit that bell up top so we can squat up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so with us jumping back in and picking right up from Iron Man arriving in his Celestial Gundam Hulkbuster, and his hero right away, we quickly jump over to Bruce Banner in his own mindscape as he watches this burning light come down and crash on him. And for Bruce, with this happening and him once again just not in control at all, but with him seeing this fire crash down, it brings him to tears, and not because of what he's experiencing on the inside, but instead because he feels sorry for everyone on the outside with the amount of rage that's about to be unleashed. And like we had seen in the previous Thor issue, at this point the Hulk is fully in control, but he has no idea that this is not another one of those ridiculous simulations from the engine room, to where in there he knew that he could just tear through everything and leave no survivors because none of it was real. And at this point, with the Hulk not knowing the difference and still thinking that he's in there, this sets us up for a couple things, because for one, the Hulk thinks that he doesn't have to hold back, but also with this extreme amount of fire that he's under, because he believes that he's still in the engine room, the Hulk also believes that this is coming from Banner. But it's also here where we find that pretty much everybody has left the Black Hand of God. Like, they've either gotten in their ships and taken off, or Sif has pulled them out of there with the Bifrost and just sprinkled them across the galaxy in a safer location, because apparently there were a group of onlookers here who weren't trying to get out. Like, they were either trying to collect their winnings or they were trying to stick around and see how this panned out. But it's here where we find that the Black Hand of God is completely deserted for the first time in millennia, leaving no witnesses, no onlookers, no watchers, and no one to observe what comes next except Thor, who of course is accompanied by Odin inside of the hammer. But with Tony unleashing this just insane attack on the Hulk, we come to find out that it's a bit more than Tony just attacking the Hulk. Because for Tony, with him turning this celestial body into a Hulkbuster armor, he very much designed this thing with the intention of draining gamma radiation from the Hulk so that the Hulk would turn back into Banner and they could just take Banner in. Which right away sounds like World War Hulk issue 5, when we had seen the Tony Stark satellites equipped with beams that would nullify gamma radiation. Because at that time when Hulk turned back into Banner after fighting the Sentry, after that he had just hulked out again when Rick Jones died. And back at that time with Tony using that satellite, this was the last measure at the conclusion of World War Hulk that kept the Hulk from literally breaking the world. But now at this point, with Tony using the Celestial Gundam version of this same method, though he's trying to help Banner, that doesn't negate the fact that the Hulk is experiencing pain that no other human could imagine. And the Hulk doesn't even know why. But in this moment, the Hulk is experiencing the celestial judgment of 100,000 exploding stars. And I imagine that Tony doesn't know how this feels, so he just keeps going, hoping that the Hulk will get smaller and power down. But of course, like we know, things have changed since World War Hulk, and as a result of Tony using this similar attack, the Hulk's gamma radiation just starts increasing, which then makes the Hulk start to go into Titan Hulk territory. But before that happens, Tony's Celestial Hulkbuster takes a hit, which come to find out caused Tony to sustain a broken collarbone and multiple broken ribs, which then made the suit kick in the celestial self-healing protocols, which is pretty cool. I hope that comes standard with every Iron Man suit from now on. But then again, I'm not sure how much of that self-healing includes Tony's body along with the suit. But when Tony looks up, he realizes that he was knocked down by Thor's hammer. But as it turns out, there are a couple things that are going on here. Because even though Thor was watching the Hulk just take that slaughter from Tony's Celestial Hulkbuster, which had caused Thor to think for a moment like this is too much. But even with this being the case, it was the hammer. It was Odin who had taken Tony down. And with this happening, Thor takes the time to approach Tony and tell Tony that it was the hammer and it wasn't himself, it wasn't Thor. And right away, Tony's kind of like, okay buddy, how many times you gonna use that one? Like, how many times have we heard, oh, it wasn't I, it was the hammer. It has a mind of its own. Because for Tony, he's like, man, we've done this song and dance a number of times already. And he lets Thor know, like, didn't we just come out of God of Hammers, where we had the lady made out of lightning making the hammer do bad stuff? And with Tony saying this, Odin's trying to tell Thor, because again, at this point, only Thor can hear Odin right now. But Odin's trying to tell Thor to just tell Tony what's going on, with Odin referring to the Hulk being out of control. But instead of Thor telling Tony this, he then tells Tony what he believes to be the more immediate solution, with him letting Tony know that he believes that this time that they have to stop the Hulk for good. But with Thor saying this, it's here where a shadowy figure then starts to come through in the background, which right away just gives me Maestro Namor deja vu. But in this case with the Hulk just dropping 10 toes down on top of Thor, to where then the Hulk just screams out Banner. Because once again, he believes that this is all a simulation, and he thinks that Banner is just somewhere on the command deck, cranking up the engine room to insane levels once again. But with Tony hearing the Hulk just yell Banner, Tony doesn't get it, because there's a lot going on that he's just not aware of. And from here, when Tony just punches the Hulk off of Thor, Banner, who's in his mindscape, is just screaming, trying to tell Tony no, like the Hulk doesn't know that this is actually real. The Hulk thinks he's in a simulation, and the Hulk doesn't realize that he can actually kill you guys. And really with Banner doing this, it feels a lot like if you've ever seen someone who watches TV and they just yell at the screen every time as if the people in the movie can hear them. Like, that's exactly what Banner's doing right now. Because on the outside, the Hulk is only focused on what's in front of him, which at this point, again, Celestial Hulkbuster Gundam to the Hulk. Facing this thing, it doesn't look like reality, which is why it makes sense that the Hulk is just convinced that it's not. But then it's here while Tony is just giving it all he's got, and the Hulk is just taking it and coming for him. But it's during this time that Odin tells Thor, like, boy, you don't listen, let me go. And with doing so, Odin just slams the hammer on top of the Hulk, telling the Hulk to calm down because he's not here for him, but instead he's here to talk to Dr. Banner. But with seeing this happen, it's kind of interesting just seeing the different things that Odin can do, given his current state. But man, as soon as the Hulk hears the name Banner, the rage kicks up another notch, and it's here where we get the return of the Hulk eye lasers, which is something just totally new to these guys. And for Tony, this is just another thing going in the complete opposite direction of where he expected this to go. But on top of us seeing the Hulk shoot his eye lasers again, it's here where we then see this circle of gamma fire forming around the Hulk as his rage just gets crazier. And it's here with Thor seeing this that Tony tells Thor that he's getting some crazy gamma readings that are like melt an entire city skyline level. And it's here with Tony trying to tell Thor that that's not just rage, that he needs to get out of there. But in this moment with Thor going for his hammer, trying to get his father, and Odin refusing to let up, telling Thor that he can get through to Banner, and this just places Thor with his hammer at ground zero, with the Hulk saying Hulk free and just going mega nuclear as he lets out this gamma explosion on this nearby planet beneath the Black Hand of God that is the equivalent of 3,000 gamma explosions, with an insane amount of gamma radiation and thunder just going everywhere. Which from here for Tony, this completely just wrecks his Celestial Hulkbuster. But also in this moment, it feels like Tony's been dropped into an episode of Love, Death and Robots. Because it's here where we see him exit the Celestial Hulkbuster, and he's more or less trying to put together like, what just happened. And at first he calls for Thor to where he gets no response, and then he tells his AI, which is called Boss, like, talk to me. Tell me that I'm not trapped alone without a battle bot on a dying planet with a Super Hulk. Which again, this would be a great introduction to a Love, Death and Robots episode, and the Marvel version, of course. But it's here where Boss tells Tony that the Celestial Tech had protected him from the Gamma Bomb explosion, and it also lets Tony know that this was the equivalent of 3,000 Gamma explosions. But then it's here where Tony sees a shadowy figure approaching him, which causes him to ask the question, what would happen if a human was caught in 3,000 Gamma explosions? And Boss lets him know that that human would be atomized. Which makes sense, because even with the fiction of Banner surviving one gamma explosion and becoming the Hulk, like that's a stretch. Like, let's be honest. And really anytime we've ever seen anyone survive a gamma explosion in comics, it's kind of like, would you be held together long enough to get powers? Like, let's have a real conversation here. But with Boss telling Tony that 3,000 of these gamma explosions would atomize a human being, with Tony looking at the shadowy figure, he's like, well, what if this person wasn't a human being? What if they were already a god? And it's right here where we find that this mega gamma explosion has caused Thor to Hulk out. And so with this happening, like, we've seen Hulked out Thor before, but this time around with him being All-Father Thor and him getting this version of this power from the Immortal Hulk, like, there were a lot of different factors in the play here. And from this point here, I'm just curious to see how this is gonna pick up when we jump back into the Thor series, because this Banner of War is getting out of hand. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below so we can go to patreon.com/dopespill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.